Yeah, we back. Now today's gonna be a different type of video. Obviously, it's gonna be a follow-up to the ones we've been discussing, entitled Mali arrests French military veteran in a failed overthrow attempt. The truth behind the French military officer arrested in the Mali coup plot. And France responds to Mali's failed overthrow and the arrest of a French military officer. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the impenetrable intelligence networks of the Sahel states, the AES, right? Today, we're going to be talking about the impressive intelligence networks of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, because as we can see over the past few years, several attempts have been made on the regimes to topple the regimes, to eliminate the heads of state. And as you can see, every attempt has been blocked, has been intercepted by the robust work of the intelligence services. So today we're going to pay homage to our brothers for their excellent intelligence gathering to protect and consolidate the power of the regime. So today we're going to examine different times when there were coup attempts that were made that of course failed, starting with back in May 2022, right? Take a look up on the screen. Mali's military government says they have foiled a counter coup attempt. Assimi Goïta's military government accuses an unnamed Western state of supporting the alleged coup attempt. Now, if you remember back in May 2022, I believe during the late night, early morning, there was a group of military officers that attempted to remove the general, that attempted to remove President Assimi Goïta. But due to the excellent work of the intelligence services, the plan was stopped dead in its tracks, and he implicated a unnamed Western state. Now, during that time, he did not name the Western state, but I'm sure we have an idea of who he may be talking about. You know, I'm pretty sure we have an idea of who that may be. Now, let's jump straight into the article. The statement read out on state TV said that a small group of anti-progressive Malian officers and non-commissioned officers attempted a coup on the night of May 11th to May 12, 2022. These soldiers were supported by a Western state. The attempt was thwarted thanks to the vigilance and professionalism of the defense and security forces. Now, that coup attempt back in May 2022, it sounds very similar to the coup attempt that happened the other day, right? We have an unnamed Western state. Now, in this case, you know, we know it was France that was behind the latest coup, but in this case, I believe France was behind that one too. And as you can see, they said a small group of officers who were arrested during that time with the backing of foreign powers attempted to overthrow the government. Now, thanks to the robust intelligence services, the plan was stopped before it was even launched. Before they could even fire a shot, the plan was already intercepted and the suspects were arrested. Now, let's continue. Let's fast forward to the coup that happened in Burkina Faso back in September 2023. Take a look up on the screen. Burkina Faso's military government says that the intelligence and security services have foiled a coup attempt, right? Let's talk about it. Burkina Faso's military government said Wednesday that the intelligence and security services had thwarted a coup attempt and were actively pursuing others believed to be involved in what is called a bid to throw our country into chaos. The statement said that the coup attempt happened on Tuesday without providing any further details. Officers and other alleged actors involved in the attempt of destabilization have been arrested, and others are actively being sought. Burkina Faso's security forces have killed a fugitive commander wanted for his role in last month's reported coup attempt. Ismaël Tohougboub was implicated in the plot and has been on the run after being summoned by the military prosecutor for questioning. He was among military officers accused of taking part in a failed coup against Captain Ibrahim Traore. Now, if you take a look up on the screen, that's this gentleman right here who was killed for his role in the attempted overthrow of Captain Ibrahim Traore. You know, rest in peace to him. You know, he's been dead for a couple years now. But anyways, I covered this topic on a video I did a while back, so I'm gonna jump into that clip real quick and I'll be right back. If you take a look up on the screen, this guy right here was actually one of the individuals who was involved in that plot against the administration of Ibrahim Traore back in September of 2023. And he had went on the run for a couple weeks, but they caught up with him at his home or somebody's house, and they had a shootout, right? A shootout had occurred, and this guy was shot to death. I believe his name was Ismaël Tohougboub. Now let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. Months later, in January 2024, the government of Burkina Faso had announced it had thwarted another planned coup set for the 14th of January in what was officially described as the umpteenth attempt at destabilization. The military government forces made several arrests of military and civilian personnel. Once again, the intelligence services one step ahead of the adversary. Now let's continue. I want to fast forward to August 2024. The Barsalogho massacre. Take a look up on the screen. The 24th of August 2024, jihadists killed over 600 civilians digging trenches for the Burkina Faso government around the town of Barsalogho. The massacre is the deadliest in Burkina Faso history and the deadliest attack in the jihadist insurgency in Burkina Faso. So this was part of a multi-layered destabilization plot, right? The first step was to massacre a bunch of civilians. And the reason for that is to turn the population away from supporting the captain, from supporting Captain Ibrahim Traore, to basically inspire the population to revolt against the regime. Now, later it was discovered that this was part of a massive strategy that was orchestrated by the former president, Paul Henry Damiba, who was actually overthrown by Captain Ibrahim Traore. And as you already know, when he was overthrown from power, Captain Ibrahim Traore ran him out of the country. So it was said that he was at the head of this conspiracy, collaborating with not only terrorist groups, but also foreign powers as well. Now take a look up on the screen. In a lengthy statement late on Monday, the interim security minister, Mahamadou Sana, said that the Barsalogho attack was the first step meant to create chaos and facilitate the infiltration of several terrorist groups into the capital. The statement accused opponents of the military government, backed by Western intelligence and European mercenaries, of a vast multi-pronged destabilization plot. Now, if you remember, way back when, I also covered this topic as well. Run the clip, I'll be right back. Now, according to internal military investigations, the most recent attack back in August was said to have been a collaborative effort between former President Damiba as well as some local terrorist groups on the ground, and apparently financed by some anonymous Western forces. And after the discovery of this information, Ibrahim Traore expelled Damiba from the army and removed his rank. Take a look up on the screen. The military government of Burkina Faso expels the former coup leader Damiba from the army. The country's former transitional president has been accused of spearheading a vast conspiracy against the incumbent, Ibrahim Traore. The former transitional president of Burkina Faso, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Damiba, who led the country from January to September 2022, and 14 other officers have been dismissed from the armed forces. The decision, made official by decree signed by President Captain Ibrahim Traore, was made public on Monday evening. They were dismissed for misconduct deemed particularly serious, including actions harmful to military dignity and reputation. According to the decree dated October 30th, 2024, the charges include intelligence actions with a foreign power and terrorists aimed at favoring their enterprises against Burkina Faso. Regarding the extradition of former President Paul Henry Damiba, exiled in Togo since early October 2022 and involved in the Barsalogho terrorist attack, President Ibrahim Traore hopes for the extradition by the Togolese authorities. Now, I want to fast forward to November 2024. I did a video on this one as well, if you remember. An $8 million plot to overthrow Ibrahim Traore has failed. Take a look up on the screen. Burkina Faso's authorities have reportedly thwarted a new coup attempt as announced on public television. According to reports, the suspected masterminds were arrested last Friday while attempting to recruit soldiers to join the plot. Authorities claim that a substantial sum of 5 billion CFA francs have been earmarked to incentivize military personnel. And if you remember, I did a video on that topic as well. Run the clip. New revelations on a destabilization maneuver in Burkina Faso. A sum of 5 billion CFA francs recovered in cash. Now, 5 billion CFA francs, I believe in USDs, that would be about a little over $8 million. Now, let's continue. An individual was arrested on Friday, November 8th, 2024 in Ouagadougou, that's the capital, at the time that he was handing over 5 billion CFA francs in cash to soldiers who pretended to accept his coup plan.
A destabilization project worth 5 billion CFA francs. Well, the soldiers played along with the bearer of this destabilization project until his arrest. The ill-intentioned individual was finally caught yesterday with his suitcases full of banknotes.
All right, we back. Now, fast forward to April of this year, 2025. Now, you remember around that same exact time that General Michael Langley had made those inflammatory statements against the captain. About a week or so later, news came out that another coup attempt was intercepted. Now, I'm not saying that Langley was directly implicated in it. I'm just saying it all happened around that exact same time, if you remember, right? Take a look up on the screen. April 2025. Burkina Faso's army says they have foiled a major coup plot. The military government has said that it has foiled a major plot to overthrow the leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, with the army alleging that the plotters were based in neighboring Ivory Coast. Security Minister Mahamadou Sana said that the coup attempt was led by current and former soldiers working with terrorist leaders. The intention was to attack the presidential palace last week. And of course, once again, due to the robust work of the intelligence and security forces, the plot was intercepted and the plot was crushed. Now, fast forward to the most recent destabilization efforts, right? Currently, we have a French commander in custody, French lieutenant colonel of the French Air Force, 30-year veteran of the French Army, currently in custody, very high-ranking individual in the French military establishment, currently in custody for his role in trying to topple the regime in Mali. It's crazy. But I want to examine something that I think is connected, right? Now, if you remember, when the news story came out about the arrest of the French military commander in Mali, right, they had said this. The security minister in Mali said this: the Frenchman was acting on behalf of the French intelligence services, which mobilized political leaders, civil society actors, and military personnel in Mali. Now, that is important, where it said that the French military commander was mobilizing political leaders and civil society actors in the country. Because if you remember, back in May of this year, there was a pro-democracy rally in Mali, right? Take a look up on the screen. Hundreds of activists staged Mali's first pro-democracy rally in years since the coups, right? So in recent months, we saw the civil society leaders and the political leaders get activated, right? They had a pro-democracy rally in the country, right? You would think that it was all organic, right? You thought it was just all organic. We just want democracy, right? Come to find out, the adversary got his hands behind the scenes. The adversary working his magic behind the scenes, right? So that would have been the precursor for the coup. So the democracy rally would have came first, and then the coup would have came afterwards, right? The same thing with the Barsalogho massacre in Burkina Faso back in the summer of 2024, right? The massacre would have came first to demoralize the population, to inspire the population to revolt against the government, and then the coup would have came afterwards. And imagine what the headlines would have looked like if the coup in Mali was successful. They would have said, oh, Assimi Goïta has been overthrown from power. The military government has been toppled after months of democracy rallies, after months of democracy protests, right? They would have made it seem like the citizens themselves drove Assimi Goïta from power. They would have made it seem like the citizens themselves rallied against the government, when in reality, it was the political leaders and the civil society actors that were mobilized by a foreign power, right? Most likely political leaders and civil society individuals that were sympathetic to France, and they would have made it seem like it was all organic, and we would have never known about this Frenchman. We would have never known about this Frenchman behind the scenes that was orchestrating and running the plays, right? They would have made it seem like all organic, like President Assimi Goïta was toppled because people wanted democracy. Listen, man, the adversary is good, man. The adversary, he's good, but we one step ahead of him. Now, what I believe that the French commander that he did was probably contacted some opposition leaders first, right? Gathered the opposing political leaders, the civil society actors, right? We're going to organize a rally for democracy. We're going to make it seem like it's all organic. The people want democracy. They don't want to live under tyranny anymore, right? And of course, they blasted it all over the international media. They made it seem like, man, the people are revolting against President Assimi Goïta. Now, while all of this was going down, he was probably making connections with certain high-ranking military personnel. If you notice, one of the generals that's implicated in the coup attempt was a general in the Air Force. And the Frenchman himself is also a lieutenant colonel in the French Air Force. So it was probably going to be some aerial assaults, probably something like that. But anyway, so now he approached these disgruntled generals, right? Probably approached them with some offers they couldn't refuse, cash, prizes, government positions, all that. And they thought the plan was going to be a success. They thought, man, we're going to bring the French back to the country. We're going to bring the old regime back the way things used to be, right? We're going to put the French boot back on our necks, right? And of course, the new regime would have been welcomed by the international community. They would have called it a return to democracy, a return to the path of democracy and stability. Oh man, Barrick Gold would have been celebrating because they got the gold mine back. Oh man, the adversary would have been popping bottles. It would have been a celebration. Now, I want to talk about the intelligence gathering of my brothers. Obviously, as you can see, the adversary has taken so many shots and they've missed, right? They've orchestrated mass killings. They've orchestrated fake democracy rallies, right? They've put out all type of slander in the media. Oh man, he's killing civilians. Oh, he's violating human rights, right? To demoralize the military and the population. They've tried so much: psychological warfare, information warfare, physical warfare. Like I said, the Barsalogho massacre, literally mass killings of civilians just to turn the population away from the government. Now, if you ask me, the number one reason why all these coup attempts keep getting intercepted is because clearly the coup plotters have agents within their ranks. Clearly, whenever they're plotting these coups, they have agents within their ranks that run back and tell the government, right? They run back and they tell President Assimi Goïta what's going down. They run back and they tell Captain Ibrahim Traore what's going down, right? So the coup plotters have informants within their ranks, clearly, right? I know we love to talk about traitors and things like that, but we also have those who are loyal to the regime, right? Who are faithful to the regime, and who act as double agents and informants to tip off the regime about any plots that are brewing within the ranks of the military. Because if you notice, every single plot was intercepted before it could be launched. Not a single coup attempt was actually put in motion. It was stopped before it even got off the ground. And the only way that is possible is if you have informants within the ranks that are running back and telling you what's going down. And I believe that is what happened in the most recent attempt with this French commander. I believe that during this whole entire plan, right, when the French commander was reaching out to civil society actors and political leaders and military leaders, I believe that there was an informant that tipped off President Assimi Goïta. He says, listen, chief, listen, boss, we have this Frenchman, we have this white man walking around the country. He trying to kill you, bruh. And as you already know, the plan was intercepted and the arrests were made. Now, besides the informants, I also believe that these guys simply have a very tight security apparatus in general. I think that because they understand that they have hostile adversaries, internally and externally, I think that they probably have certain mechanisms in place to monitor the movements of certain individuals, to monitor communication, things like that. So I think naturally they're already on top of their game when it comes to security. But I do believe that informants are playing a heavy role, right? So I think that there are some guys who might play along with the plot. Oh yeah, let's overthrow the government. And then they run back and snitch. They run back and tell the authorities. So yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. So all you traitors that think you plotting against the government, the guy standing right next to you, just know he might run back and tell the president. He gonna run back and tell the leader. Now, when it comes to the adversary himself, when it comes to the French, I believe that they're frustrated and surprised at how effective the intelligence networks are in the AES. They might be wondering, how come every time we make a plot, how come every time we organize a scheme, it gets discovered? Because keep in mind, France always portrayed themselves as, we are going to help you with your security, right? So they're probably surprised at how effective these guys are able to actually run their own ship without needing them, number one, and also running it effectively to actually intercept and block every single attempt at destabilization that the French government has thrown their way. And in fact, they might be feeling paranoid themselves because they might be feeling like their own intelligence networks are compromised, because how come so much of our information gets leaked to the other side? So they might even feel like their own networks are compromised as well. So anyways, at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, it's not only about who has the biggest army, who has the most guns, this and that. It's also about intelligence and security, right? The reason why these coup attempts keep failing is because obviously there is a very robust intelligence network within the AES. So before these coup plots even get launched off the ground, the conspirators are already arrested and locked away in prison and being interrogated, right? So anyways, just like we talk about the importance of infrastructure and economic independence and taking back the gold mines and the uranium mines back, we also have to talk about the importance of intelligence gathering, counterintelligence, and how that also plays into the security of the state, right? Because if you have no security, you can't have no infrastructure. You can't have no gold mine operating or uranium mine operating or building infrastructure and building hospitals and schools and big buildings if you don't have security, right? And part of the security apparatus is the intelligence gathering. So yeah, man. Anyways, it's your boy Nevakari. That's Salim back in the Billy. Yes, indeed. 21 Cannons, first single off the new project. Pin comment at the top. Subscribe to the Patreon, NCD 1814, and I'm gone. Peace. King of the North, and I feel like Moise. Took a few losses, I'm back on my feet. Selling they soul for trinkets and cash. Right on the front like the leader from Chad. Feel like a see me, I feel like I'm Idris. Walking on gold, I handle my business. Honor, integrity, money, and power. Told me she love me, she want me in power. Told her I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. Told her come over, come see me in person. Told her come over, I'm sick of the talking. Don't got no time cause that money be calling. Working all night and I'm up in the morning. Love when I call her, she love my attention. Body and soul, I'm truly protected. Back on that road in big body business. Told her I love her, I told her she mine. Get in that passenger seat, we gon' ride. Back on my mission, that money been stacking. Came from the bottom, I'm steady expanding. Run to the check and I pull up and vanish. Grabbing the neck from the back when I smash. Don't need no question, they know it's official. Cut from the cloth in my life ain't no fiction. Ride for the scene like I'm army enlist. Gotta stay focused, I'm moving deliberate. Heart of a king and my heart full of pain. Look at my neck and it's flooded with chains. And I got Desaline blood in my veins. Enemy watching, I stay with a flame. Keep it 100, they know how we move. Black on black beam, interior blue. How you gon' leave me? I told you I love you. Pain in my heart, you knew I was trouble. Enemy watching, they wanna invade it. Hoping my brothers don't never betray us. Been on my mind and I hope I can save us. Look at my flaws, I don't see perfection. But I'm authentic, I'm whipping the 7. Like it's a phantom, I'm still manifesting. Gotta get money, I gotta get paid. Stay on my toes when I'm ducking these snakes. Go to my wrist and the queen on my arm. Feeling my energy, loving my charm. Might go put Desaline face on a piece. Ready for war, that's how you get peace. Know I'm protected, I'm ready for action. When I walk in, I need 21 cannons. Secret location, I'm up in the palace. One of a kind and she loving my manners. One of a kind and I'm telling the truth. His and her Bentleys, I gotta get two. Feeling like future, we never gon' lose. Feeling like Garvey, I'm running the block. Entering off firm and I'm letting off shots. King of the North and I'm up at the top.
How you gon' leave me? I told you I love you. Pain in my heart and you knew I was trouble. Enemy watching, they wanna invade it. Hoping my brothers don't never betray us. Been on my mind and I hope I can save us. Look at my flaws, I don't see